Hi everyone. I thought I would do a two-page layout of my move from Virginia to Miami. And so I just am showing you how I scrapbook, which starts by throwing a bunch of stuff I think I might use on my desk. And then basically I just kind of go with the flow. I knew for this layout that I wanted the edge of the page to have a scalloped edge, and so I'm punching a bunch of these pink circles to use for a scalloped edge. So now what I'm going to do is I'm lining up my base page, which is this blue, and 1 inch from the edge I'm putting the ruler so I can lay down some glue. And now I'm going to move it a little bit so that when I lay the ruler down, it's 3/4 of an inch from the edge. And I'm going to use the ruler to line these punched circles up in a row. And then I'm going to lay another piece of paper over them so that half of them will just be peeking out and they will look like a scalloped edge. This technique is a great way to add a larger size scallop because any size hole punch you have can become a scalloped edge. So now I'm having these last two are going to hang off the edge, so I'm just gluing them down and then flipping the page over and cutting them with my scissors. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 1 inch from this piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to glue it down on top of them so that you only see half the circles. And that is going to make it look like a scalloped edge. So you'll see in a second when I lay this down that what's left peeking out is a nice scalloped edge. And so I'm just going to continue layering. This is an orange sparkly glitter paper. I believe it's from Doodlebug. And I'm just putting a strip of it down because I want a lot of different layers here on this edge. And then here's another piece of white cardstock, and I thought what I wanted to do was lay it right down next to the orange, but then I changed my mind and decided that before I did that I would give it a scalloped edge. So this is the Fisker's scalloped border punch, which I use a lot. I like scallops. And so I'm just punching along, and there I missed one, but it's really easy to go back and line it up again and get it exactly where you need it. So I like that better. And this is where I make a mistake. I had thought that I was going to have that white then be my background, so I cut the edge of the blue off so I could save it for another project. But then I changed my mind and decided I wanted it blue again. So I'm now struggling to figure out how I'm going to fix this. So what I end up doing is adhering the white scallop underneath the piece of blue that I cut off, and I'm just rubbing up some of the extra adhesive. And now what I'm going to do is glue those two pieces to a piece of scrap white cardstock. And when I get page protectors, I take the white sheets that are in them out and I use them for scrap cardstock. I used to have this nasty gray cardstock I accidentally bought a pack of, and I used that all up so I don't use it anymore. And so what I did is I put adhesive on it, and now I'm going to lay these down. And then I remembered, oops, I should have laid the smaller one down first because I want the larger one to overlap the smaller one, so easily fixed. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm adding some faux stitching in black to the white strip in the middle, and I'm just running a line down each side. One next to the pink scallop and one next to the orange. And I just wanted that white to stand out more than it does. And now I'm adding another line of faux stitching to the white scallop next to the blue. And I'm using a white gel pen to add white faux stitching to the pink scallops. Don't worry if you can't see the stitching very well. I'm going to make sure to do a close-up at the end. So now I finished the stitching, and that blue edge looked too severe. So what I'm doing is I'm going to make it a scalloped edge, and then I'm going to add another strip of white behind it so that the leading edge of the page will be white. And that will highlight the blue scallop, and I think will keep it from looking a little too plain on that edge. So now I'm just going to cut yet another strip of white cardstock. And I'm going to put adhesive on one edge only. And I'm going to lay it on my mat at 24 inches. And then I'm going to lay the blue at 12. And so I know that where they overlap, it makes a 12 by 12. This is a piece of a photograph I took of where we boarded the train when we left, and I'm trimming it down, and I'm going to use it as the title of my page. So I'm just getting it to be it's about 1.5 inches by 11 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mat it on a white cardstock, and I'm going to trim that down. And then I'm going to mat it again on a pink cardstock. And by the time I've matted it on the pink cardstock, it will be 12 inches. So it will go from edge to edge on my page, which is what I wanted it to do. So I just need to trim this down. And now I'm going to add it to the page. But notice I set it aside, and that's because I'm going to put down a piece of pattern paper, and because the piece of pattern paper is a little smaller than I would like, I'm actually going to leave a gap, and I will put that over it so that you don't see that there is a gap. And that gives me just more of that pattern paper that I wanted. The edge was starting to look a little plain again, so I thought I would add a row of tiny multicolored buttons on the white strip in between the two lines of faux stitching. So I got out some buttons and I started laying them down, and it looked way too cluttered and I didn't like it at all. So I put the buttons away, and I decided instead I was going to add some orange bling to the blue scalloped edge. So I'm cutting in between the gems so I can place them one at a time. And I'm going to start on the outside edges and work my way in. And I'm putting bling on every other scallop. And again, you can't see it super well, but you'll be able to see it in the finished product. Now I'm just deciding what other patterned paper I want to use on this page. And I thought that pink was too intense, so I'm actually going to use this little strip of pink with this stripe instead. And I'm going to ink into a scalloped edge. And I'm going to then glue it to the stripe. So I'm just trimming off the excess here. And now I'm going to run a strip of adhesive down the side, and I'm going to stick it to this piece of stripe, and it's going to be a little bit longer than 6 inches. So I'm going to cut the stripe down to 6 inches, and then with the pink it's a little bit more like 6 3/4, that whole piece of it. And I'm just going to adhere it to my page. And then in part 2, I will finish laying everything out.